Welcome to TrendsZee, home of trends. Today, we're diving into one of the most critical geopolitical issues of our time, the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, and how Kamala Harris has responded to it. As Vice President of the United States, Harris has played a pivotal role in shaping the Biden administration's approach to foreign policy, particularly during this conflict that has sent shockwaves through global politics. How has she approached the situation? What steps has she taken to counter Russian aggression? And what does this tell us about her broader vision for U.S. foreign policy? Let's take a closer look at her strategies and decisions on the world stage. Kamala Harris, taking a firm stand from the beginning. The Russia-Ukraine war, which began in February 2022, drew worldwide attention for its brutality and the shocking invasion of a sovereign nation. From the onset, Kamala Harris made it clear that the U.S. would stand firmly with Ukraine, denouncing Russia's actions as a blatant violation of international law. As diplomatic tensions soared, Harris was front and center in meetings with European allies, attending the Munich Security Conference just before the invasion and warning the world about the impending crisis. In speeches and interviews, Harris consistently emphasized that the U.S. would not tolerate Russia's aggression. She reaffirmed the United States' commitment to the NATO alliance, ensuring that America's European allies knew they had strong support. Harris, known for her clear, forceful communication style, worked closely with the State Department and the White House to craft sanctions that would hit Russia where it hurt most, its economy and oligarchs, leading sanctions and economic warfare. As the war escalated, Kamala Harris played a critical role in shaping and enforcing the Biden administration's sanctions against Russia. These sanctions were designed to cripple Russia's financial system, isolate it from global markets, and cut off its ability to fund the war. Harris worked behind the scenes with U.S. allies, coordinating one of the most extensive sanctions packages in history, targeting Russian banks, oil exports, and top oligarchs with ties to President Vladimir Putin. Harris wasn't just focused on the Russian economy, she also pushed for military aid to Ukraine. While not directly in charge of defense strategy, Harris backed efforts to send billions of dollars in aid, including weapons, drones, and intelligence support, to help Ukraine defend itself. Her stance was clear. America and its allies would use all available tools, diplomatic, economic, and military, to support Ukraine's sovereignty and counter Russian aggression. Diplomacy under pressure, Harris's balancing act. What made Harris' approach even more challenging was the delicate balance between standing firm against Russia while avoiding direct U.S. involvement in the war. Harris understood the stakes. Nuclear powers like the U.S. and Russia had to tread carefully. Her approach emphasized diplomacy without backing down, leading efforts to keep lines of communication open with European nations and non-NATO countries affected by the global fallout. In her meetings with world leaders, Harris demonstrated an ability to rally global partners, ensuring a unified response to the conflict. Countries like Germany, which had been hesitant about imposing harsh sanctions due to their reliance on Russian gas, were persuaded by Harris and other U.S. leaders to take a stronger stance against Russia. Harris's diplomatic efforts extended beyond Europe. She worked with countries in Asia and Africa to mitigate the food and energy crises triggered by the war, showing a global approach to resolving the ripple effects of the conflict. The refugee crisis, humanitarian action. Harris also addressed the humanitarian crisis caused by the war. As millions of Ukrainians fled their homes, the U.S. responded by opening its borders to Ukrainian refugees. Harris played a key role in ensuring the administration's response to the refugee crisis was swift and compassionate. She pushed for policies that allowed Ukrainian families to seek refuge in the U.S., while also coordinating with European nations to provide relief and resources to refugees across the continent. Her ability to connect with the human side of foreign policy was evident in her speeches, where she often spoke about the devastating impact of the war on ordinary families, especially women and children. Harris made it clear that America's support wasn't just about military aid, it was also about standing up for human dignity and protecting the innocent. Kamala Harris's foreign policy vision, global stability, and U.S. leadership. The Russia-Ukraine conflict is just one piece of the broader foreign policy puzzle for Kamala Harris. Her approach to foreign policy has consistently emphasized the need for global stability through multilateral partnerships. In a world marked by rising tensions, Harris has advocated for strengthening alliances, promoting democratic values, and supporting human rights across the globe. Harris's tenure as vice president highlighted her belief that the U.S. must continue to lead on the world stage, not through unilateral actions, but by working with international partners to address the complex challenges of the 21st century. Whether it was reinforcing NATO's eastern borders, responding to the rise of authoritarianism, or tackling global issues like climate change and pandemics, Harris's approach has been one of collective security and global cooperation. She has also been vocal about the importance of preventive diplomacy, addressing potential conflicts before they escalate. In the case of the Russia-Ukraine war, she had warned the world about Putin's ambitions well before the invasion occurred. Going forward, Harris is likely to continue advocating for stronger intelligence sharing agreements, sanctions as deterrents, and promoting peaceful resolutions through international organizations like the United Nations. Conclusion. As of October 2024, Kamala Harris's response to the Russia-Ukraine war has been marked by a combination of strong economic sanctions, military aid, and diplomatic efforts to rally a global coalition against Russian aggression. Her leadership and firm stance have positioned her as a key player in America's foreign policy. Harris has balanced the difficult task of supporting Ukraine while keeping diplomatic channels open to prevent a larger, more destructive conflict. Her broader foreign policy vision centers on multilateralism, global stability, and the protection of democratic values. In an era where the world faces interconnected crises, Harris' approach to foreign policy is clear. The U.S. must lead through cooperation and resolve, standing firm against authoritarianism while building alliances that promote peace and security. Thank you for joining us on TrendsZee. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth stories and global insights. See you next time.